Hello everybody, it's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Not gonna be long. Look, you've heard me say this a million times. If you don't have at least two independent streams of income through which you hedge your primary source of income to protect you against catastrophic loss in that area, you are missing an opportunity to ensure your long-term financial security. I have created the 7-day online business launch course, which is a formula I use to reestablish myself online. It works over and over again. I've used it over and over again. Now I'm challenging you to take advantage of it. Click the link, learn more about it, enroll, and let's get started. Hello, everybody. This darn thing is always on. Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick here dropping in on you. Hope everybody's having an unbelievable closeout to your week. It has been a very productive and yet challenging week for us here at Rick Wallace Enterprises and its subsidiaries. But man, I'm excited about what's going on. The saga continues as far as that goes. You guys are going to have to forgive me with the in and out of the lighting. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to chase it down. You can definitely hear me, even if you cannot see me that well. It only seems to be on this platform. On that note, uncanny timing. On that note, look, before we get started, as you saw in the intro, this segment is brought to you by the 7-day online business launch course. You guys have heard me say this more than I can count, that if you don't have a minimum of two independent streams of income that support or hedge your primary source of income and protect you against the loss of your primary source of income, you need to take this course. This course is not something I just thought of. It's literally me passing on to you what I use to literally save my business career, reestablish myself, reinvent myself online, and do it over and over again to build what I have built here online. And I'm passing it on to you in a step-by-step online course that is nothing short of amazing. And on top of that, if you sign up before the 1st, you will also get our our 6-month personalized success and growth plan free. So that's just an added bonus of signing up now. So again, and also at the end of the month, it goes back to the regular price. So if you sign up before the 1st, you get it at the reduced price and you get the success and growth plan free. All right, now moving on. Today's Focus Friday, we're going to slow it down a little bit. We're going to go into something I think is foundational to me. Black love, the restoration of the Black family is, to me, primitive and primal in the sense that without it, we can't talk about any of the other things we do. We can't establish values, interests, and principles that propagate and project Black empowerment without talking about the Black family. And you can't talk about the Black family without talking about Black marriage. The problem is the Black family and Black marriage has been under assault for decades, and we seem completely unaware or unbothered by it. We have bought into many of the ideals and ideas that marriage isn't important, that the connectivity between the Black man and the Black woman isn't important, that we would rather focus on what's wrong with one another than to work to heal ourselves so that we both become right, so that we can build what is necessary, so that we can pass down what is required. And I have talked about it. I have written on it. I have done so much. And we all have some culpability in it. We all have a responsibility in it. We all have this challenge to rise to a certain level. And in it comes some uncomfortable and inconvenient truths that we must examine. I'm just going to use one particular idea to unpack something very briefly here that I hope that can be received and at least examined. Again, I don't expect anyone to take anything I give them and just take it as gospel, take it as truth, take it as unchallengeable. But I want you to take it as something for you to think about, something for you to examine, something for you to research, something for you to consider, because we've got to do something different. What we're doing isn't working. So I go back to over 25 years ago, and a person I have a great deal of respect for in wisdom and spiritual prowess was dealing with me on a relationship that I was in. And I asked him a question, and it was actually about someone else. And his response was, and I'm cutting some of the things out because I don't want to reveal anybody, but his response was basically, the important part to take away from this conversation was this: that you can discern the character of a man by observing the countenance of his wife. Let me break that down to you another way. If you want to see what kind of man he is, look at what is reflected from his wife. In other words, she will become a reflection of his character, a reflection of the type of person he is. Because this is what I can tell you: if a man cannot treat his wife right, he can't be trusted. I don't care how good he is at what he does. I don't care where he goes, what he does, all the accolades mean absolutely nothing. If you cannot take care of her, and I don't mean this in any way in alignment of perfection, because I think one of the things and one of the problems that we have encountered in modern day observation and practice in the area of relationships is this search for perfection. We're looking for the person that does it all. We're looking for the person that measures up to the guy in the romance novel, to the guy in the movie. And we're looking for this person who doesn't exist. Nobody checks all the boxes. And the whole box thing just baffles me, because the box, when you have boxes, and this is for you ladies, and I want you to pay attention here, because we are gifted differently. We are made differently. We are wired differently, men and women. Women, men are visual by nature. Our occipital lobe has the capacity, a greater capacity for vision. So we see things both physically and spiritually that women don't see. Women have in their temporal lobe the ability and the capacity to feel. So when they feel, that is discernment, that's intuition. They are able, and so if you wanted to break it down real simply, you could sit up and say men are able to see things visually and spiritually that women can't see, but women are able to feel things that men can't feel. And that's why the togetherness in the masculine and feminine energy and connectivity is so important. But we get caught up. So what happens is, we got women now, everybody's checking boxes: what he drives, where he works, what he does, and all that. And good, he needs to have some things going for him. You want somebody that's going somewhere. You want someone who has a vision and an idea of where he's going. You want somebody that not only has potential, but is operating in that potential. No matter where they are currently in their journey, you see them putting in the work to be what it is they believe they should be. And then you ask yourself, is this a place that I fit into? Does their vision connect with mine? And then you search yourself. Your intuition will tell you so much. But when you check these boxes, you set aside your greatest gift, your greatest strength, what God gave you. You set it aside, and you are counting on these things. And I keep telling you, when you start trusting things, things will uh deceive you. Sometimes things will fail you. You need to be able to look at something deeper. Sometimes what you need to see is simply the heart of a man, and his willingness to do whatever it takes to love you the way you need to be loved, within the confines of his own gifts and his strengths. But anyway, here's the thing: that when I first heard that, it was like bam. So not only did I embrace the idea that a man's character will be reflected in the countenance of his wife, I also pondered it, because it came with so much to unpack. On the surface, beastly, it was impactful, it was powerful. But when you start to unpack it and look at what it actually meant, it became even greater and more impactful. And so I spent years, because the easy part of it is you want to be that man. As a man, you want to be that man that when men look at men or women observe your wife, they go like, she's got a good man, just by the reflection of you in her, how she smiles and how her eyes light up when your name is mentioned when you're nowhere in the room, but just how she moves and carries herself in the level of confidence she has. See, because see, if you are truly investing in this woman, you are edifying her, because that's a part of the responsibility that creates the environment for her to be a proper instrument of reflection. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, because you can have a good man, but if the woman is in some way not whole, if the woman is in some way lacking the capacity to be a correct and accurate reflection, she cannot receive what you're giving her. So she will not produce the proper image. And it's your responsibility to create the environment that allows her to do that. And the one way you do that is by lifting her, by edifying her, by being able to do what only men can do, see the greatness inside of us. Women, that's why you need a man with a good vision, a man with good visual sense in it. And we're visual, yes, physically, but we're also visual in a spiritual nature. We see things. That's why the vision is given to the man most prominently. Now, the woman has her own, but the man has the vision. Why? Because we see. Okay, so then a good man will see what's inside of you and the natural part of him. And see, we hardly ever hear this word associated with men, but we are unbelievable nurturers when we're operating in our true masculinity. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. A true man operating in his true masculinity is not focused on himself. What is he focused on? He's focused on the things that he has been given the responsibility of what? Covering. When he is covering something, he is responsible not just to make sure nothing happens to it. That's his first responsibility, is to protect. The second is to bring forth. To bring forth what's inside. It's a nurturing. In other words, it's not just sitting there, it's being nurtured, it's being grown, it's being enhanced, it's being fulfilled. And one of the things that he can do, if he is truly in his masculinity, is see the beauty in your gift, to see the power in your gift. And what does he do? He brings it forth. He does that through a process of edification. He tells you, you're exceptional, you're remarkable, you're doing this thing. He's not just telling you that because he's trying to stroke an ego. The ego is actually this thing that's being put aside when you're truly nurturing a relationship. The ego is set aside. The ego cannot come into this realm of oneness because there's no place for it. The ego seeks individual opportunity, individual accolades, individual acknowledgement. This one thing that is pure cannot have the ego. So the ego is set aside. So he's not stroking your ego, ladies, and he's not looking for what he's doing. He's acknowledging what he sees. And a lot of times he can see in you what you haven't been able to see in yourself, because he's the person with the vision. Now you can feel it, but you haven't been able to really see it. He provides the vision. He provides the imagery. How does he provide the imagery? He tells you, hey, you're so exceptional. You can do this. I believe you can do. I see you doing this. I see you doing that. I see you doing, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. He's speaking it because what? Another part of his masculinity is what? That of prophet. And when I talk about prophet, I'm not talking about from a religious perspective. I'm not talking about from a prophetical sense in the idea of knowing something beyond. I'm talking about speaking into someone's life that which is not readily understood, not easily ascertained. He is speaking into and over you. He's going to do that with the children too. If he has true masculinity, he's going to do that with the children too. He's going to speak into your life. Now, here's the problem, though, ladies. When you are expecting a man to come into your life and he's got this vision and he's connecting with you and you're going to be a reflection, remember, if you are going to be a reflection through your countenance, there has to be some preservation and enhancement of the instrument through which you reflect. In other words, your capacity to reflect him has to be optimal, meaning you have a responsibility to heal, from past damage that you've done that may put mars and scars and cracks in the reflection of what he's trying to present through you and to you. And so you need to be making sure you're healed. Now, his responsibility, once he chooses you, see, now he has a responsibility, dude. The first responsibility is to choose a woman that has the capacity to reflect him. Now, once he makes the decision, then he realizes, okay, this is a lot more work than I initially saw. He still has the responsibility now to create the environment. The environment is that place that I just talked about. The environment is the place where he now sits up and says, you know what? I'm going to speak what she doesn't even know. I'm going to speak what she can't even feel yet. I'm going to speak the truth of her design, because by the very nature and divine evidence of God himself, nothing created is fallible. We make it fallible through our experiences, through our beliefs, through adapting erroneous behaviors and ideas and ideologies about ourselves, about the world around us, that we tend to move away from the divine order of who we are, and we lessen our impact in the world. We lessen our capacity. And a lot of us, with no fault of our own, are born into it. But what we've got to realize is that doesn't even amount to a reasonable, acceptable excuse for not transcending and rising to the level of what we were designed to do, because the gifting transcends the environment. The gifting transcends any past experience. The gifts what will make room for you and bring you before great men. That's what it says. So then what? He sees it, and so he speaks it. He provides an environment. But what we've got to start understanding is we got to start, as both men and women, shifting our focus. This is why I did this on focus. We got to start shifting our focus. What do we shift it from? We shift it from the expectations we have to an ability to appreciate what we have. So it goes from expecting what we don't have to appreciating what we do have, which actually enriches and expands our capacity to have. So the things that we want can't come through the narrow gates of frustration, disappointment, misunderstanding, all of the things that we tend to engage because we have put expectations above appreciation. She can't reflect you right now, brother, because she's disappointed about some things she expected from you. He can't properly provide for you, sister, what you're asking him to provide, because he feels disrespected based on some expectations he had. See, we've gotten to a point to where we are refusing to enter into this thing with a sense of appreciation. When you got somebody that cares about you, when you got somebody that is committed to you, you got somebody that's operating within a covenant with you, to be one with you, to be a representation and a reflection of God first, then you have something that you should be appreciating. But you should also understand that it is not perfect, and therefore you're taking two individuals who operate distinctly different. I am a seer, you are a feeler. I operate from, my brain runs from front to back, operates front to back. I'm about accomplishment, what I can do with my hands, what I can stack up and say, look what I did. That's where I get my drive from. You, on the other hand, are instinctive and intuitive. You're going on what you can feel and what you can sense, and your number one premise is to be loved. Now what your number one premise is isn't what my number one focus is. So how do we find one another? We find one another by being appreciative of who one is. Because the moment I appreciate something, I value it. If I value it, then I want it to be at its best. When I want it to be at its best, I take the time to step outside of myself and how I think things should be. And I start to look at, what do you need from me? How can I be of assistance in helping you be your best? And the same thing, sisters, when you're really truly at that place, you put down the expectation. I'm not saying you're not supposed to have standards. I'm not saying you're not supposed to have expectations. What I'm saying is the capacity for any man to deliver it is going to be dependent upon your appreciation of him first. He needs to be respected, and he needs to be needed, and he needs to feel appreciated. When he does, he will bend the ends of the earth trying to give you what you need. And there needs to be a level of appreciation in the effort. There needs to be a level of appreciation in the effort. And brothers, there needs to be a level of the appreciation in the effort of trying to understand you. Just her trying to understand, you got to understand, her brain moves different than yours. Yours is like, hey, this is what's going on. Okay, I'm over here. She's going, well, what about this? What about that? What about that? What about? She don't even care that you done got over there. She is caught up in how you got there because that's how her mind works. And what will happen is you could be taking her exactly where she needs to go, but if she doesn't understand it, you're going to have a problem. And you need to be able to take some time back and sit up and say, hey, look, I know you don't understand what I'm doing, but this is what's going on. This, if you just trust me, this is going to happen. And then she's got to be able to see some progress along the way. And you probably going to have to point it out to her. Why? Because she's focused on the details. She's like, hey, man, we're going that way. Well, she's thinking, well, traffic is this way. The light's going to be that way, this way going on and so on. We got to go by so-and-so's. All of these things. That's the way her mind works. Also, her mind is searching your behavior for proof that you love her. So everything is a search. Now, what you're doing is one of the biggest mistakes that are made in relationships. And it comes from something we're taught as a child. And it's very interesting that we do this. And I don't think most people realize what we're doing. What is that? We teach our children, do unto what? Others as you would have them, what? Do unto you. That doesn't work in marriage. Why? She's different than me. I'm different than her. Now, when you take the do unto others as you would have them do unto you, let me give you just a real simple analogy to make it make sense to you. She hates ice cream. You love ice cream. So in your mindset, man, I'm going to stop. I'm over here at Baskin Robbins. I'm going to get her this big blah, 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 blah. It's going to blow her mind. You take it home. She's looking like you, huh? Not only does she not like it, now the fact that you didn't realize she didn't like it is a direct representation to her that you don't love her enough to know what she cares about, what she likes and what she feels and what she wants. You were in your mindset trying to show that you were considering her while you were out doing your own thing. What started out as some kind of way showing some love turned into a misinterpretation of the behavior because you didn't consider who she was. You did unto her as you would have her do unto. Now, you would love for her to bring you a big thing of ice cream home because that's your thing. What you did is you brought her something home that says, I didn't put enough thought into what would really make you smile to do this. And this isn't taking a shot at men. This isn't taking a shot at women. This is me about something I'm extremely passionate about, something that I know we absolutely are going to have to figure out. Because if we don't, we're going to consistently keep creating children. Because here's the problem. While marriages are failing at an astronomical rate, while relationships aren't even culminating in marriages, in many situations, we're still propagating our progeny. We're still producing offspring at an unbelievable rate, and we're putting them in environments that almost guarantee their failure because there's no solidified environment of stability with both masculine and feminine energy on the inside of it, and they are suffering from it, coming out of it broken and going into a world trying to make something happen without having all of the tools because they didn't have the proper environment. The individual is an institution in and of themselves because they can formulate and do and carry out anything on their own. The next institution in this world is the institution of marriage. It is from the institution of marriage that the family is formed. When you're trying to form family without a solid marriage, you end up with a splintered and broken family. And you end up with a splintered and broken family. You have no connectivity. You have no unity. You have no sense of direction. You have no solidified values, interests, and principles that you project to the next generation. You have a bunch of split ideas. You have a bunch of issues with neglect. You have a bunch of issues with a bunch bunch of other things. And we're living this and seeing this each and every day across America. We've gone from 1960, where there were 75% of Black children born in two-parent households, to where now it's the exact opposite. And we're seeing it play out in our world today. And we're constantly out crying out about how horrible things are, how disrespectful the children are. We created the environment that created those kids. And we need to understand that we need to change how we behave. See, what I can tell you about young Black males is they'll listen to you. This is the reason why I tell all the time, while a Black woman can do a good job in rearing a Black male to be responsible and pro-social, she can't rear a Black man. Why? You can't tell a boy how to be a man. You show him. He has to observe it being modeled in front of him. Even to the most simplest thing that he's going to learn, how to stop sitting down and peeing and stand up, is because he saw daddy do it. We really are losing sight of the power of being together. And here's the other thing. One of the most simple things, because you guys, if you follow me, you know I've done a lot of work with Legacy Wealth Academy, the Path to Generational Wealth course, and so many other things, the book, The War on Black Wealth, and so many other things that I talk a lot about the racial wealth gap. Well, in working with a bunch of people to do the research to build that course, I dealt with nothing but people who were at the top of their game in investing. And to a man and a couple of women, I heard this repeatedly. Marriage is a wealth hack. It is a wealth hack. And it's not just because two people are building something together. There are so many other dynamics that go into the psychology of building wealth that become simplified and more processed over time. Number one is women are more organized in the way they think. They are more capable of creating systems. Men are more creative in creating ideas. Again, the vision and the person. When you have the right situation, when you have the right idea, a man can take his vision and plant it in the spiritual womb of a woman. She gives birth to it. A woman is by nature an incubator. The woman by nature multiplies what you give her. You give her groceries, she makes it food. You give her a house, she turns it into a home. You give her your seed. 9.5 months later, she brings forth to you a child. She does not keep what you give her. She multiplies it. The problem is, men, we've been giving women so much darkness and pain that all she knows how to give us back is hell. And we're frustrated and we're angry and we're screaming. We don't understand. We're the creators of the environment. We determine whether the environment is safe or not. She's been in many instances laden with the responsibility of creating a safe environment that she can rest in. That immediately takes her out of her femininity, and we get frustrated with it. Provide the environment. Ladies, you're upset because he's not doing what you think he should be doing. Give him the space to be who he needs to be. It's not your job to tell him what he should be doing. It's your job to support him in doing it. Now, you give him advice, you speak to him, you let your intuition speak, but he's carrying the vision. And a lot of times what we see is the fighting against the vision slows the vision. Stop measuring your partner based off of some novel, some movie, what everybody is saying and talking about on social media. Because what I can tell you is, in the decades that I've studied this and looked at this, the things that I've gone through and experienced, there is no such thing as perfect. Nobody's got this figured out. But what I tell you is, you will be surprised at what you can do with someone you become committed to. Now, I'm not talking about committing to somebody who's intent on harming you, intent on disrespecting you, intent on mishandling and being deceptive and deceitful. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a person, when you look at them, you see their effort. Appreciate it. It's rare, especially nowadays. Everybody's serving ego. Everybody is about, what am I getting? When you find somebody and you look at them and you can see in their effort, they're trying to love you. They're trying to find a way to get you to where you need to be. Appreciate it. Here's what'll happen. Your appreciation serves as fuel, empowerment, and it also elevates them. Men literally expand on affirmation. There's nothing more powerful to a man than his woman saying, I believe in you. There's nothing more affirming to a man than a woman. She does it in two ways. She does it in her words, what I just said, affirming you, and she does it when she gives herself to him. That's why you got so many men running around right now, jumping from woman to woman. That feeling of affirmation that they get that validates their manhood when they're sleeping with a woman, because they can't commit to it, because there's nothing afterwards that anchors them to it. They got to go chase it and find it again. They get it, and then they're going to the next because they didn't learn properly how to anchor themselves in that emotion. So they keep reeing up on the fix, but they never anchor themselves, and they leave this death trail of bruised and broken souls that they've left behind, carrying the fragments of each of those souls with them, because you're merging souls when you start connecting that way. And they don't understand where a lot of the feelings are coming from, because nobody broke it down to them. These soul ties are literally sapping the life out of you, because you have thought that in some way the physicality would in some way replace the necessary connectivity of relationship. The physicality is meant to follow the relationship, not precede it. It is not meant to solidify. It is a part of the culmination of the relationship that has already been created. There has to be some sort of promise that when I make this move with you, and we sync as one. He says, for this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become what? One flesh. They shall come together. There's a culmination of this thing that connects them. The oneness begins at the moment of culmination, and that's the problem. You're trying to become one with multiple people. You're trying to become one with multiple souls, multiple ideas, multiple spiritual realities, multiple spiritual entities, and you don't understand the frustration and all of the things that are going on in your life. Most of us need to step back and detox. Because a lot of times we're taking these spirits from the souls we've collected into the next relationship. And we're expecting this person to be able to figure out the puzzle of all of this. And this isn't about judging anybody, because I, as a man, had to learn this. You know, this week has been interesting to me, and I guess this is why it's so important to me. This week marked a year of my breakup with my wife, and those who know me knew how much my marriage meant to me, how much being a husband to her meant to me, and all of this. And that Tuesday made a year. And I sat down, I contemplated it, and I looked at myself, I gathered myself. And the reason I'm bringing it up is to the point, I have yet to go on one date. It's not that I'm mulling around. It's not it's that I need time to make sure I'm what I need to be. I need time to also allow myself to heal. To me, there's nothing to detox from, because I was celibate for 3 years before I got with her. And I don't see her as being negative. So there's nothing to detox from, but there's something to heal from. And also, it allows me, see, another thing that happens is when you rush into something, when I say, I mean, I ain't held nobody's hand. I ain't been on no dates. I ain't do that. And it ain't that a brother ain't lonely. Is that it means so much to me to get it right that I'm searching me. It's easy to sit up there and point that finger. This person, I'm searching me. You know, I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. I was fighting, but I'm searching me. And what I'm trying to get everybody to understand, at the end of the day, the best version of me ain't perfect. The best version of you is not perfect. That's not where you're going to find this utopia in marriage. It's in the covenant. It's in the commitment. It's in looking at that person and saying, man, this person has to love me because I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and that's still here. And then you got to see the beauty in that. You've got to create a new idea of what beauty is, because the world is telling you that they're going to come in on this white steed and sweep you off your feet, take you from all your problems and everything else. And you don't understand that this idea of novelty, pretty woman don't happen. The average guy who's got that kind of mindset, that's got that kind of build, is looking for someone in that area. So you're waiting on this guy that's got everything together. Here's another thing you need to understand about that too. And I tell people this I tell women all the time. Women, if you walk in and he got all his stuff together, he's stacked and he's got everything built, some other woman helped him build that. You're walking in on something someone else built. So you need to be very careful to understand how she ended up out of the picture before you step into it. If he's set, the woman was involved. If it wasn't the wife, it was his mama, but somebody played a role, because there's a spiritual element and component that's necessary. Now, he may have a bunch of money, but there's something missing in him if he doesn't have that balance. It just simply is. So again, we need to really truly look at the foundation. We need to really truly look at where we're at. We need to really truly gain an understanding of what it means to say Black love and then execute it. Get out of the notion of letting external forces define what love is. Love is this benevolent behavior towards someone that is present despite how you feel. If you ever remember how I used to talk about my marriage, and I would talk about Marianne, and I would sit up and I would say, I don't treat her based on how I feel. I treat her based on my responsibility to her as a husband. In other words, I could be angry, but I'm still going to do the things that I promised I was going to do. I'm still going to handle her a certain way. I'm still going to talk to her a certain way. I'm still going to do everything in my power, no matter what. That's because that's what is required. We've gotten so heavily engaged on our feelings that the moment that our feelings are pushed one way or another, we get reactive instead of responsive. We need to learn how to double down on love, but we're scared to do. We're scared to double down on love because everybody's so worried about being taken. When you go on the defensive in your marriage, you're destroying it. Why? Because that's the one place that you build trust. That's the one place you got to trust a person beyond reason in order to build something. But it starts with how you build it. It starts with putting what? The ego outside the door. It can't come in. The ego cannot be in there because the ego is always going to seek self. And the ego is always going to make it smaller in capacity because it's focused on self. There's something so much greater, but the spirit does not recognize the ego, and the ego cannot be fully functional in the presence and the power of the spirit. The spirit is bigger. The spirit is more powerful. But when we bring ego in, we push the spirit out. And we're wondering why we're missing so many things. It's because we have chosen self over purpose. So I encourage you, and I hope that you share this with other people. Black love is a very, very revolutionary and radical state. And there are so many entities, so many people in places of power that go to extreme lengths to disrupt Black love because they fear what it will produce. You have to really take the time to understand and research exactly what is happening, to understand that there's a systematic force at play to disrupt the Black family, to disrupt the Black marriage, to break apart the thing that when it's together and whole creates power. This goes back to the late 50s and the 60s, where the FBI and the CIA understood, man, if we don't do something about the Black family, if we don't do something about these Black political parties, these people are going to become infinitely powerful. J. Edgar Hoover said that the greatest threat to U.S. national security wasn't Soviet Union at the time before it disbanded. It wasn't Cuba, which was a communist country that had missiles pointed at the U.S. at one point. It wasn't the Arab Central nations in the Middle East. It was Black unity. It was Black unity. We miss so much every time we allow ourselves to be disconnected from those we were meant to build with because something didn't fit or some box didn't check. The capacity for us is within us. It's not in some external observation. You can build whatever you desire to build. There are no limitations except for what you limit within your thoughts and your imagination. We are not building because we are not challenging ourselves. We are not staying connected. We are trying to operate on half force, the masculine on one side, the feminine on the other side. And the crazy thing is we've become more hostile towards us than we have the system that created the environment that created the things within us. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. Look, I'm going to get ready to get off of here. Hopefully this Focus Friday, which is definitely a little different, hit home for the people that it needed to hit home for. Also, like I said in the beginning, take advantage of that 7-day online business launch course because the special offer comes to an end at the end of this month. So you got a couple of days left. And if you take advantage of it before then, you also get it's not free, but you get the 6-month success and growth plan free. This is a personalized plan that we literally create for you after you answer 20 questions that are highly specified for your success. And we build it for you. So your plan is the only plan like it. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out here. I really appreciate you guys dropping in on me. I challenge you to stay focused and love. Love, love, love. Appreciate the love you have in front of you. Because here's the other thing, and I guess this is another reason why I haven't jumped out there. That dating world. Everybody talks about the dating pool. To me, it's not the dating pool. It's the dating mindset. It's what people are thinking, what people are looking for, how people are operating that makes it horrible. We're in need of a whole new overhaul of thoughts and standards. That's what we need to be focused on. Well, anyway, look, as I always say, I live my life down on E. I'm challenging you to do this. On that note, I love you guys. I'm out.